Welcome to another Code Made Easy video tutorial presented by Blackstar Coding Academy, where we make learning to code easy. For complete, easy to understand and detailed coding video tutorials, visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/CodeMadeEasy. Here you'll find in-depth coding instructions and lessons that are easy to understand and follow. So visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/CodeMadeEasy. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, in our previous video series, introductory to Bootstrap, lessons 1 through 4, we got familiar with Bootstrap. We also learned about the grid system. We also installed and configured our Notepad++ HTML editor, which you can download for free at notepadplus.org. And we also included our links to the Bootstrap CDN, which you'll see here at the top of our page that's coded into our editor. I'll be providing these links in the description box below this video, which gives you remote access to the Bootstrap toolkit. Now, in today's lesson, which is a continuation of our build, we'll be adding this call to action section here. It includes this text as well as this button, and we'll be styling it with a gray background and adding some padding as well as some other styling to this section. So I have my blank page here, and as I just mentioned in our previous lessons, we did the header section here, including some text, and we did some styling as well. And we include our next section with our 3 columns, then our offset columns in our third section there. So what we want to do is go back to our code page, and we'll go ahead and add a new section after that final section. So this section will be included right below this section here. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new section. So we'll do a section tag, opening tag, and we'll do a closing section tag. And we'll go ahead and open that section up a bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to include some divs inside this section. So we'll go ahead and do a div here, opening div tag, and another div here as well. And we'll open up that div, and we'll space over as so we can have some, for readability's sake, go ahead and highlight that, tab over a couple spaces, and then we'll include another div inside that div, opening div tag, closing div tag, and then we'll open up that div, highlight that div we just created, tab over, and we'll do a third div inside that div as well. So opening div tag, closing div tag, like so. Open up that div and highlight and tab over a couple of spaces. Now we have our section with our divs included, 1, 2, 3, and we want one more div inside that final div. So we'll go ahead and do another div inside that div, opening div tag, closing div tag, and we'll go ahead and open up that div as well, highlight that new div that we created, highlight it like so, like that, and then we'll tab over a couple spaces. Now we want to add some styling to our div, or we want to add classes to our divs. These are Bootstrap classes. You can learn all about div classes on our Patreon page at patreon.com/CodeMadeEasy. We have detailed information regarding div classes. So we'll go ahead and add a class to this first div. We'll add the class equals container, and then we'll add another class to that next div. We'll add class equals row. So now we have our container and our row. Now we want to go ahead and do some additional styling here. We want to create this background color here on our page, on our example page. And we can do that by including some linear styling. You can learn more about linear styling on our Patreon page, patreon.com/CodeMadeEasy. So we'll go ahead and add some styling to our section. So we'll include the word style equals, and then we'll do our selectors and properties. We've got background, gray as the property, gray, and followed by semicolon, Control S. And we'll go ahead and go back to our test page, and you see there's nothing there now, but once I refresh the page, you'll still see there's nothing there now because I need to add some content in there. So what I'm going to do is go back to my final div and add just some simple HTML tags and some text in there so we can see so the styling will be rendered and the text will be up here inside that section. So we're going to do a paragraph tag P and then a paragraph closing tag of P. And within that tag, we're going to type in the words, just a sentence. This is a call to action. Now we want to go ahead and include our button in here as well. Now you can do another. You can put the button inside a paragraph tag if you like, but it's not necessary. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and put a paragraph tag inside there. Put it inside a paragraph. So this is going to be one of the Bootstrap class style buttons. It's going to have a class and a type to this button, and you can learn more about the Bootstrap class for buttons on our Patreon page at patreon.com/codemadeeasy. So what I want to do is go ahead and create a button. So I'll go ahead and do button, and type correctly, button, and then the word type equals and we're going to include the word button inside the quotes. Okay, and then we'll assign that a class of buttons. Now there's a special way to do this, so you go ahead and type in the word class equals double quotes, and then we'll have the word or the letters BTN space BTN hyphen primary. And that means it's a primary button. It has different classes to it. And there are different classes to Bootstrap buttons, and you can find more about that on our Patreon page. Now what we're also going to do is go ahead and include a link, a hypertext link inside our button type and button class. So we'll just do a normal HTML hypertext link. So we'll just key in the word href equals, and then we'll just put the pound sign inside the quotes because the button's not going anywhere. We don't have it linked to another page as of yet. So we'll go ahead and close this and include a closing button tag to go in, and there we go. So now we have our button included as well as our text. We'll go ahead and perform a Control S, and we'll go back to our work and refresh the page, and as you can see, there is our button, and we don't have any text in there, but you can see the buttons there as well as the call to action text. Now what we want to do is we want to put some text inside that button. So we'll go ahead and in the button tag, we'll go right after the link between the opening button tag and the closing button tag. We'll just go put some text in there. We'll just do a sentence of learn more. Okay, Control S. We'll go back to our work and perform a refresh on the page, and there you go. So you can see it there. We've included the words learn more. Now this isn't quite styled correctly. We want to move this text and this button over to the center of our section. So how you can do that, you can go up to this first, your div row here, and we'll add some styling to that row. And what we're going to do is use the styling of text align. So we'll do a style equals double quote text align center colon center, and then followed by a semicolon and Control S. Now what this does is everything within this row will be aligned in the center of our section. So that includes the text, that includes the button as well. So you'll see what I'm talking about here when I go back to my work on my front page, and we'll do a refresh there, and there we go. So all the text is lined up, and the learn more button is line is centered within the section as well. Now we want to increase the size of this text. So we'll go ahead and add some styling to our paragraph tag that contains that text. So we'll go ahead and do a paragraph style equals double quotes. Font size is a property and selector, and we'll do font size, just say 38 pixels. Okay, 38 pixels followed by a semicolon, Control S. Go back to our work on the front side, and as you see now, it's really large, or it's larger than what it was. Now it's too close to the top of the section here, so what we want to do is we want to move that and create some space. So what we're going to do is in our container, the div that contains that's assigned the container class, we want to add some styling to that, some more linear styling. Find out more about linear styling on our Patreon page, patreon.com/code made easy. So we'll go ahead and include the word style and then equals double quotes, and we'll make this padding selector property of say 50 pixels. Let's do that for right now, followed by a semicolon. Okay, now what this will do is it'll create some space between the text here, so it's not flush against the top of the section. And we'll go ahead and do a refresh on the page. There you go. So now we have some space, and it's pretty much aligned in the center, but I think I want a little bit more, a better alignment there. So I'll just do another maybe 20 pixels, so it'll be padding of 70. Control S. Go ahead back to our work, refresh the page. There we go. So now it's more in line with the center of the section. So we also I want to go back and review this here. We have a div here, we have a div there as well. What I need to do is I need to include my responsive class to this div. So what I need to do is go back and include a class for here, a responsive class, a Bootstrap responsive class, by including the word class equals double quotes, and we're going to use all 12 columns. So you can get more information about the columns in our previous videos as far as responsive columns. So we include the class of col-md12. Now what this does, it uses all 12 columns of our Bootstrap install here. So you don't see these columns, they're invisible to you, but there are 12 columns here. And what it does, it uses all 12 columns by assigning this div a class of col-md. Okay, so I'll go back to and do a Control S, go back to my front page and do a refresh, and you won't notice any changes, but that needs to be included. The reason it's being included is because of the responsive nature. Now what do I mean by responsive? When I minimize the screen here, and this is a normal size of an iPhone or a Galaxy phone or whatever phone you may have. See how it renders on the page and everything kind of collapses in place. And same thing with our section that we just included with our columns right here of col-md12. It's using all 12 columns for the responsive features. So just to recap, on this lesson, this is lesson number 5 in our introductory to Bootstrap series. We had created our new section. We added a div class of container here for our first div, and we've added a div class of row for our second div. We also included some styling here, and we added our responsive class for our div class here, the first to last div. Now we also included another div here which contains our content. We included HTML paragraph tag with some styling, and we also included our button with a button type, a Bootstrap button type with a class of BTN primary. Now again, you can learn more about different button classes and styling, CSS, HTML, JavaScript, PHP, and WordPress on our Patreon page at patreon.com/code made easy. Now this concludes this tutorial. We'll be continuing in lesson number 6, where we'll be building out additional sections below this section, below our call to action section, and as well as moving on to the footer and include some content inside our columns that we created in lessons 1 through 5. So I will see you in the next video, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel.